So it's a good evening to you all, our lovely viewers. I'm back again with another update on our previous video, and today the focus of my video would be on the major causes of death. However, I'll list numerous causes of death, but I would want to highlight on the five major causes of snail death. Five major causes of snail death, and it's something that you should try your best to stay away from or to avoid. So in this video, I will talk about the five major causes of snail death. So before I start that, I would want to urge you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and to hit the bell icon for notifications. Now, before I start this video, if you haven't watched our previous video where I talked about the percentage you should expect in terms of mortality when it's about snail farming, kindly go to our page and watch the previous video. That will help you understand this video better. But in the meantime, I would also leave a link in the description or up here where you can follow to watch the video. Now, before I start that video, I would want to do a brief highlight, or I would want to throw a bit of light on snails. Let's try and understand what snails are, who snails are. Then we can also talk about the causes, the five major causes of their death. Now, as we all know, snails are invertebrates. That is, they don't have backbone. And snails belong to the mollusk family. So the slightest thing that will kill a butterfly or an ant would also kill a snail. So care should be taken when handling snails, or when rearing snails, or when raising snails. They are very delicate, and as such one should be very careful when it comes to bringing up snails. And we all know that there are types of snails, where we have the terrestrial snails and we have the aquatic snails. But this part of our world, the snails that are mostly found here are terrestrial snails, that is land snails. The five major causes of snail death, I would mention them and I'll highlight them in no particular order, just to let you know the five major causes, but in no particular order. Now, the first death that I would want to talk about is overcrowding. This is one of the major causes of snail death in our farms, overcrowding. Now, a lot of people don't take into consideration the stocking density when it comes to their structures. They just do not consider that. Just because you have the funds, just because you have the capacity to buy snails, doesn't mean that you should overdo it. Now, snails is all about numbers. So if you want to do a lot of numbers, or if you want to do more numbers, you have to create the avenue, you have to create the space, you have to create the farm to accommodate the numbers. Just because you have the funds doesn't mean you do anything and you stock anything. You just have to follow the principles, you just have to follow the steps in raising snails. Other than that, you are better off using the funds or the money for pizza or for fries or for something. Now, you would have to follow the stocking density. For example, someone will just build, for people who build pens, someone will just build a 3x3 or 3x7, or let's say 5x5 feet pen, and the person will be looking at stocking 1,000 pieces of snails. This simply is a no-go area. You are overstretching the capacity you can hold. A 5x5 pen cannot hold more than 1,000 or 1,000 snails. You are just overcrowding your pen. It's something that would kill snails, or it's something that kills snails with time. You shouldn't overstretch your capacity. If you want to buy 1,000 pieces of point of layers, to start your farm, then create the avenue, create the capacity to contain them. However, do not stock a 5 by 5 feet pen with 1,000 pieces of snails. No, this is simply overcrowding. Now, for people in greenhouse, now I would want to talk about a standard greenhouse, which is a 20 by 20 feet greenhouse. Now, someone with a 20 by 20 feet greenhouse would also want to start with 5,000 pieces of snails. Yes, for 5,000 pieces of snails in a 20 by 20 greenhouse is not overcrowding. However, we do not recommend or we do not advise you to stock a 5,000. Rather, you can do up to 2,000 for a 20 by 20 feet greenhouse. You just do a 2,000 because, mind you, these are points of layers and these are the snails that will give you your money, or these are the snails that will give you your profit. Whatever they bring is what will be your profit. However, you don't stock a 5,000 pieces of snails in a 20 by 20. This is something you can do. However, we do not recommend. At least you do a 2,000. Highest you can go is 2,500 pieces of snails in a 20 by 20. Now, this 20 by 20 feet greenhouse I'm talking about, for its total maximum capacity it can hold or it can contain is about 20,000 pieces of snails. And these 20,000 pieces of snails, mind you, some will be baby snails, some will be growers, some will be point of lay, some will be jumbo, some will be blah blah blah. So the greenhouse can contain that numbers. Now, it would also depend on when you stock the greenhouse. A lot of people just build this, they do the plantation, and within 2, 3, 4 weeks, 1 month, they want to stock the greenhouse. This is simply a no. Snails is all about patience. If you don't have the time or if you don't have the patience to do the right things, please step aside. It is not your own. You just have to be patient when it comes to snails. When you build a 20 by 20 structure, you have to wait for at least 3 solid months for the vegetation to grow to certain stage before you stock your greenhouse. Do not build and try to stock in the first month after building just because you saw the stuffs growing a bit. You want to, no, it has to be bushy like, the farm has to be bushy like to be able to contain the quantity and to be able to help the snails do better. If because you have the funds you think you can just be doing anything, trust me, you will lose money. You will lose money. Just be patient. Snails is all about numbers. Once you get the numbers right, you are in solid profit. The second cause of snail death is heat. Now, a lot of people do not consider the structure they put up when it comes to snail farming. Just because they have the space and just because they have watched a video and just because they've seen something online, they feel they can do it. And most people also do not consider the position, the place at which they build the structure. We all know that in this part of the world, the sun is too much. So snails also like cold places and they shouldn't be exposed to the sunlight. You have people building pens and they have poor covering and it's a bit exposed to sunlight and all that. Heat can deplete your farm in less than 24 hours or in less than 48 hours. Heat can deplete your farm. Another factor I would want to talk about, which is also a major cause when it comes to snail farming, is water. As we all know, water is snail and snail is water. Without water, you cannot do snail farming. It's simply impossible. And now there are certain factors you would want to consider when it comes to snail farming in relation to water. Now, the best water to use when it comes to snail farming is rainwater or borehole water from the well. These are the two best waters to rely on when it comes to snail farming. However, you can also use tap water, but there's a caveat to that. Now, we all know that the water that comes into our homes are treated with chlorine. So each water coming from Ghana water has a bit of chlorine in. And if you are to rely on that water, trust me, it will kill your snails. However, there is a way that you can make that water wholesome for your snails and you wouldn't have any problem at all. Now, what you can do if you don't have any means of getting rainwater or borehole water, you can also utilize the waters that come into our homes, that is the pipe-borne water. But what you have to do is when you fetch the water, when you get the water, expose it to the sunlight, especially for people using the pen system. Expose the water to sunlight for at least 24 hours. What this does is that once the water is exposed to the sunlight, naturally the chlorine is evaporated. Naturally, the chlorine is evaporated. So it makes the water wholesome for your snails. So after 24 hours of exposing the pipe-borne water to direct sunlight, it becomes wholesome and you can use it for your snails and you wouldn't have any problems or any challenges for that matter. Our people with the greenhouse, this is what you have to do. If you have a polytank that is servicing your greenhouse, what you have to do is you get a net, you open the lid of the polytank, then you get a net to cover it very, very tight. Just cover it with a net. Now, what this also does is that once the polytank is in the sun, it naturally would the chlorine would naturally evaporate. But when the polytank is covered with the lid of the polytank, the chlorine isn't able to evaporate, and if that water is used for your snails, trust me, that will also lead to mortality. So the best thing to do is open the polytank, take the lid off, put the lid somewhere, cover the top of the polytank with a net, so as the air can help in the evaporation process. Once that is done for at least 24 hours, that water also becomes wholesome. So for people in the greenhouse who rely on tap water, make sure the polytank is up there or down there or at a place that is exposed to sunlight. Cover it with net. This also avoids insects and ants and other uh, objects from entering the polytank to avoid chokes in your sprinklers. So for people in the greenhouse, this is what you have to do. Now, the other factor that I would want to talk on also would be contamination. Now, for the contamination, I would want to combine three factors. I would want to talk about the contamination of the feed, contamination of the water, and poor hygienic standards or poor hygienic practice when it comes to snail farming. A lot of people don't care what they feed their snails. Now, it's garbage in, garbage out. When you talk about snail farming, for people, normally I would want to talk about the pen and the greenhouse because we practice both systems and we understand both systems very, very well. Now, for people with the pen, whatever you put in there, whatever you give to your snails. Now, if it happens that the snails are unable to eat whatever you put in there, you have to make sure you take the leftovers out the next day. Don't leave the feed to be in there for 3, 4, 5 days. This can also lead to contamination or food poisoning, and when the snails feed on them, they are also likely to die. And for the water I talked about previously, you try and use wholesome water for your snails, and also try your best to at least be a bit neat, just try practice some bit of hygiene around the snail farm, some bit of cleanliness and all that. This also helps the snails, and this also helps to reduce the rate at which the snails die. My final cause that I would say is a major cause when it comes to snail farming. But before I tell you the final cause, I would want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so as to be notified whenever we post such content or new videos. In the subsequent videos, I'll be talking about very important topics as well, and I wouldn't want you to miss it, so I would urge you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check the description for all details, our contact, our website, and all other things. Now, the last factor I would want to talk about when it comes to snail death, the major one I would want to talk about, the last factor I'd want to talk about is you. Yes, you heard right, is you. Now, a lot of farmers, beginners or even experienced farmers, they are the major causes of death in their farm. Yes, a lot of people don't know that they are the cause of the death in their farm. Now, a lot of people overthink, and a lot of farmers, they overthink and they overdo things. They just overdo things or they overthink, and they are the major causes of death in their farms. They just do not know they are the causes of death in their farms. Now, when it comes to snail farming, snails are meant naturally, they are built with that resilience to cater for themselves. And most snails thrive in hard conditions, but if the conditions are unfavorable, that is when you lose them. But in hard conditions, most snails are likely to survive. Mind you, a snail can go for up to 6 months without food. How many animals can do that? It takes a very strong animal and an animal with a big heart to go for 6 months without food. It's only a few animals who can do that. So it tells you that the snail is built naturally to survive tough conditions, but not unfavorable conditions. So the death that we see in our farms, most is caused by ourselves. People overthink. Now, when it comes to snail farming, try and juxtapose your actions or whatever you do. Try and juxtapose it to whatever happens in the forest. Now, when you go to the forest, let me give you the shock of your life. When you go to the forest, the snails in the forest do way better. Way better. They multiply better. They multiply at a huge number, or they multiply in huge numbers than snails that are raised home, which are carefully catered for, carefully fed, carefully blah blah blah. Mind you, the snails in the bushes are even exposed to a lot of predators, a lot of reptiles, a lot of insects, but they still survive. They still survive. Some way, somehow, they still survive. But snails that are raised at home die. Why? You are the cause. A lot of people overthink. Whatever you do, try and juxtapose it with whatever happens. So in our subsequent videos, I'll bring you a lot of videos, so make sure you stay with us. So these are the major causes of snail death. There are other causes such as ant invasion, blah blah blah, flies. There are a lot of causes of death in snail farm, but these are the major ones I would want to share with you. It's already night, and I would have to leave you. This is the greenhouse you see right behind me. We are also into this is Snailry Ghana. We are also into the construction of greenhouse. We do anything when it comes to snails. We sell the growers, we sell eggs, snail eggs, we sell point of lays, we sell jumbo size, we sell feed, we sell calcium. Anything that it comes to snail we do. Even calcium, lack of calcium is another factor of the causes of death in snail. But I mean, I just talked about 5 of the major causes we feel it's a factor to the death. I'll leave you for today, and I'll leave you for now. Bye bye.